Hello everyone, welcome to Geeetech 3D Maker Salon. This is Spring Joe, and today is our Geeetech 3D Maker Salon episode 28. Welcome to joining us on live. If you are joining us, please type hi or anything to say hi. Let me see your name or write any comments you like to write. Hello, Javier. Nice to see you here. I think it's your first time here, maybe. In today's live streaming, we are gonna to have a few sessions here. Mainly we were gonna to have 4 sessions. The first session is that we'll introduce about our life a little bit, and then second, I will invite our special speaker, Makoto, to talk about multi-filament nozzles and using GitHub to make your life easier with updating Marlin Firmware. And the third part is that we will also have some Q&A session from live comments. So if you have anything and you wanted to ask our speaker or you wanted to discuss on live with us, we will answer that on live as well. And then the last part is also we will have a giveaway session in our live streaming. So if you have any friend that is interested in 3D printing, I think today's topic is quite interesting because for anyone who is doing 3D printing, they might want to update their firmware or customize their firmware. And today's topic is quite related with that, and also discussing about the multiple nozzles. So I would like to invite you guys to remain the activeness of our life. And may I invite you guys to spread this live streaming with your friends and groups. Thank you very much. Hello, Vivian. Okay, I'm going to. We have 8 audiences with us now. Let's share with 1 or 2 groups to have more friends to join. Okay, so I wanted to do a small survey. Is that how many people here knows GitHub? Can you type 1? So let's see how many friends here has already have a little bit understanding about the topic we're going to talk about. Or maybe how many people had made changes to Marlin Firmware. So that's more related to this topic. So 1, 2, 3. Great. To be honest, myself is quite new with the GitHub part. So if I don't follow it well, maybe you can ask more related question to our speakers, so we can get to know. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Yeah. And yeah, actually, often to me it sounds very complicated to do the update the software things. Especially when I look at the software interface, I feel always puzzled. We are actually, let me invite our speaker today to our live streaming. Yeah. Earlier before it was a little bit internet problem, so just invite him to join again. Hello.
Hey.
Think still cannot see our Makoto here. Can you guys see? The biggest reason Steve don't make changes that don't want to upset what's already working well. Welcome, Steve. Hello, Martin. Oh, I just want to check with you guys. Can you see Makoto and hear Makoto? Because from my interface here, it seems that I cannot. His screen is totally blank from my side. Maybe the internet here is bad. Oh, yeah. Now finally, I can see you. Hello.
Hi. Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you. Welcome to Be On Live, Makoto. Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you. I was just testing out the podcast by watching the Facebook feed here. See if I can see myself.
Yeah.
Looks like you can see me as well.
I was just doing a little survey about the topic. How many people know GitHub? Okay, so I'm going to, now we are going to officially start. So for the first part, I will introduce a little bit about this live streaming. Is that Geeetech 3D Maker Salon aims to have more 3D makers to be on live to exchange ideas. This is the basic concept. Except that here we encourage that the experienced users, especially people with special knowledge in like modeling or Makoto himself has some experience in electronics itself, and he works in I think it's in 3D printing already, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. Yes. And yeah. And besides, like people have a lot of innovative ideas in 3D printing. So we welcome all of you to join our live streaming to share your experience on live so that more people can benefit from this live streaming. Besides, and also welcome like our old and new 3D makers to join our live to talk about your questions you may have, and also we can discuss it on live with a guest. Yes, so this is the basic concept about our why we have this live streaming, and what we are going to have in this live streaming is basically we will have a live talk with our speaker, and also we will discuss questions from live. And besides, we are going to have some giveaway from Geeetech side. We have 3 giveaway today, and also lastly, some of people might be interested in some of Geeetech promotions that we are having. So in the end, we will also share some of the promotions on our Amazon store. So that's basically all about the flow of the live streaming. So are you ready, Makoto? And
I am.
Yeah.
You hear
Okay,
me
so
now?
yeah, I hear you clearly. Since today we are going to talk quite a lot of knowledge in 3D printing about the multi-filament nozzles, and also how the GitHub techniques to update Marlin Firmware, I think. And so this is the topic we're going to have. Before we talk about that, may I introduce yourself to introduce your background, and also how did you get into 3D printing?
Absolutely. So my name is Makoto, and I am a software developer. I've been a software developer for 20 years. So I've been doing it for quite a while.
Makoto, we have a suggestion to maybe you can speak up a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that message earlier, and I turned up the volume after William said that, so hopefully you can hear me now. I think there was some delay. Shut up. Can you guys hear me okay now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. So as I said, so I've been a software developer for a while, so I'm quite comfortable modifying source code, Marlin Firmware. And I'll kind of go about how I manage the Marlin Firmware for my printers. How I got into 3D printing is, I've heard about 3D printing, but I wasn't really familiar with it. And it was, I saw a bunch of 3D printers when I went to a Maker Fair here in Orlando. And it seemed like this was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. It was just a bunch of different 3D printers. So I was really fascinated by it. It's really fascinated that you can create anything you want just in fly. So I didn't get a 3D printer yet. I mean, the price was a little bit up there and it seemed a little bit complex. My friend ended up getting one. All right. After that, I picked one up and was like, all right, this is pretty good. I want to see what else I can pick up with that printer. Another one. So I've got 7 printers now. So I've had a chance to kind of play around with them. And,
Makoto, sorry. We have a guest saying that when you speak up, we cannot understand you.
Oh, okay. Let's see if I can make this better here.
Maybe choose. Yeah. So your voice is not very stable.
Right. Okay. I put the mouthpiece right here, and if I speak up very loud, can everyone hear me better? I'm gonna try to yell. Apologize for the audio issues. Hopefully someone can tell me if they can hear me okay or not. There's a Like, Steve says
a
it's
little bit better. A little bit better. A little bit better.
Okay. All right. I'll just try to speak up real loud here.
Okay.
I forgot where I was now. What was I saying? You're right. How I got started into it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it just really fascinated me. I've been into electronics as a little kid, and tinkering with electronics is something I enjoy. And the software aspect of it comes naturally to me, and tinkering with the hardware is a nice bonus. So, 3D printing, I get a lot of enjoyment mostly just out of tinkering with machines, not so much in the printing aspect of it, which may sound strange, but I really like just messing around with them and tinkering with them. So it's what I enjoy doing.
Maybe you can increase the volume in the StreamYard setting.
Check that out.
Let me check.
Okay. Increase the volume there. I turn off automatically adjust my volume. Hopefully that should improve. You guys hear me better now? Maybe I turned that up a little bit too much.
Yeah, a little bit better.
All right. William, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right, Steve says yes. Perhaps that's all it was, is setting within this streaming platform here. Okay, right, so yeah, I went over just kind of briefly how I got started into this. Would you like me to go ahead and get into the topics, or did you want to say anything else?
Are you using a computer directly?
Yes.
Is the area is quiet or not? Maybe you can try if using computer directly would be better.
What do you mean by computer directly?
Not using the Mac. If your place is quiet.
Probably.
Because yesterday it sounds good.
Right.
So this is what happens with live streaming. Sometimes it just happens unexpected.
Yeah.
But
can you hear me any better now? I switched.
Yeah, now it's better.
Okay, so I switched the microphone. I don't know if that's any better. Yeah, I switched over to the laptop microphone.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Use a computer default microphone directly.
Okay. So I switched over to the microphone there. I don't know if that's any better. Can you hear me any better now? So I did switch to a different headset. I have a longer cord.
Yeah.
But, since
Better.
Maybe.
Better.
Okay.
Yeah. We manage it.
All right, so I see Martin has a question about what would you...
Or maybe we can answer the question like related to the topic after your introduction, and later we will go back to the questions. So
Okay.
that will be easy to
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Should I get started, or do you want to say anything else?
I think you can just briefly go through of your experience a little bit, and then we continue.
Sure. So just go over my experience with the 3D printers. So I got my first 3D printer maybe about actually about 3 years ago now. It's actually one of my least favorite printers as well. It's very problematic. But I've actually learned a lot from it and learned what makes a printer good and what makes a printer bad. And from there, I've modified quite a few printers and bought a few more and found out what works better and what doesn't. I've also helped contribute to some of the source code for Marlin and a few other 3D related or 3D printing related repositories out there. One is for a touchscreen interface for 3D printing screens.
We need give a suggestion. You needed to yell a little bit.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I can keep this up yelling the whole time. Maybe I can try switching to a different headset here.
I think now is okay. Just maybe increase your volume a little bit. Is okay.
Said that it was okay yesterday, so maybe.
Yeah, yesterday was okay.
All right. Is that any better?
This one is okay. This one is better. Yeah. Yeah. This one is better. A lot better.
Okay.
Okay, so let's start our main topic about the multiple filament nozzle comparison.
Steve says it's much better, and William says it's worse. But if you guys can hear me, I can continue on here.
This one is better.
Okay.
This one is better. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I do have the camera set at a manual focus at a particular position, so I do have to stand in a certain place here. Stray is saying that it's only focused back here, so if I move forward, I apologize. I didn't set up autofocus.
It's okay. It's okay.
Okay. Okay.
This is tremendously better.
Yeah, I apologize. I don't really do these live streams very often, so I'm kind of ill-prepared for this. So thanks everybody for being patient and helping us out here. But I'll get started in the multi-nozzle. So I don't know if anyone here has any of the Geeetech multi or the mixing printers like the A10M, A20, or A30. I think they have a triple as well. I ended up getting the Geeetech A20.
Oh, we can ask our friends on live. Anyone have like multiple color, for example, 2 color or 3 color, like M series, A10M, 20M, 30M, or like the A10T. T is for triple color, 3 color. And
right.
20T and 30T. So anyone have it, you can type one. Just if you have any like multiple color printer, or other brand is also okay. Yeah, multiple color. Yeah. So while they are typing, we can just share our well, we can talk directly. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll go over my experience with the multicolor as well. So I have the A10M, and looks like a few other people do as well. So I played around with the mixing. One of the challenges that I found for the mixing is, well, there's a couple actually. If you're using PLA filament, what happens is you get what's called like a toothpaste effect, where you have 2 different colors. Maybe you have like a 50-50 mix. You'll see both colors of the filament as it goes back and forth. And maybe even sometimes you look at the model on one side and it's one color, you turn it over, on the other side it's a different color. As Steve calls it, the aquafresh effect. So that part's kind of annoying. There is a way to get around, well, if you're using translucent PETG, I find that works best and kind of eliminates the toothpaste effect due to the fact that the filament's a little bit translucent and you can see the colors blend in better. Also with PLA, or with the mixing extruders, you have to have all the inputs filled in. Otherwise, what will happen is as you extrude filament, it's going to push out through the other port. So that's one of the drawbacks of a mixing nozzle. So PLA also has a tendency to kind of cook if you leave it in there for a little bit too long. But maybe you could get around that by ensuring that you always have like maybe 1% of the idle filament extruding. So if you look here, I actually took out my mixing nozzle here. So this is going to be a little bit blurry. I'll hold it back here. This is the mixing nozzle that's on the A10M. And you can see it has 2 inputs and 1 output right here. I've played around with a few other ones. This is a different brand mixing nozzle here that I was trying out. Wasn't too happy with the mixing experience. I was drawn to the mixing experience because you could have a wide variety of different colors, and I really like that aspect of it. Even to the point where I got this thing here, which is the quad fusion head made from a company called M3D. It's a 4-in, 1-out mixing extruder, and it normally comes with 4 stepper motors, 4 little micro stepper motors. That allows it to have a direct drive functionality. I ended up converting it to a Bowden setup. Ultimately, I kind of stepped away from the mixing extruders because it can be a little bit challenging, and the fact that you do have to keep them all loaded. So after that, I kind of tried out. I don't know if anyone's familiar with the Chimera hide end from E3D. It's basically 2 in, 2 out. So here's a picture of what that looks like. So this is Chimera. It has 2 inputs, 1 big heatsink, and 2 outputs. I like the idea of this because I can choose to just use 1 filament or the other, or I can run them at 2 different temperatures, so run 2 different materials. But I found it to be very challenging with these Chimera style, because you have to make sure that both nozzles are at the same exact height on the bed, and you can't really take advantage of bed leveling because of the fact that there's 2 nozzles on here. So where you might have a little higher spot on the bed that might be right for one spot of the nozzle, but as it moves over, the other nozzle might not apply to. So there's a lot of drawbacks to using something like this. Not to mention there's oozing issues with the idle nozzle. So I'm not using this anymore as I'm holding it here. What I ended up going with, and I don't know if I can switch cameras on here. 1 second, let me see if I can.
You can share the screen, and when I click OK, then we can just share the screen.
Yeah. I think I could just switch over here.
Oh.
Okay, so what I've got here is a non-mixing hot end. So this is on the Geeetech A10M. I did modify it so that way it's using a different hot end on here. And this is actually a 3-in and single out. If you can see that there. I do have one of them empty. I haven't added the 3rd one yet. I actually just set this up last night, printed out the mount for it, and got the firmware set up today. And got a test print going here. Let's see what people are saying here. Camera is low in battery. Oh, right. Okay. I might have to switch out the battery on the other camera here. Just put that down. I apologize. I'm going to switch out the battery real quick. Someone did point out that the low battery light is flashing.
Oh, maybe it just needs a little bit of time to resume back to another camera.
Back here. All right.
Oh, we got a few questions. Like Harry asks, does it do purge block?
So yes, with the mixing extruder, you do have to use a purge block. With these two out, like the Chimera head ends, you don't need to have a purge block. Although you should have a what's called a ooze shield, which is basically an outer wall that goes around your print that is kind of.
I think maybe your voice needs to enhance a little bit.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, better.
Okay.
A lot better.
Yeah. So yes, you do have to have purge block with the mixing if you want to switch colors, especially if you're going from like a dark to a light color. You do have to purge a little bit more. For example, going from black to white. And also with this non-mixing hot end that I just had up there, do have to purge, although not as much as the mixing hot ends, as I found out. As I mentioned, these Chimera hot ends, you don't need to have a purge block, which is a nice benefit, but very difficult to get these to work correctly. Let's see what other questions here. Have I found any mixing nozzle that actually mixes well? The Quad Fusion did mix fairly well, but there are a couple downsides. It's because there's 4 inputs, it does make things almost 4 times as difficult if you have a clog, and it's very difficult to get to, and you have to disassemble the whole thing. I think all of them do suffer from the Aquafresh or toothpaste effect, just because of the nature of it. And like I said, it works best if you're using translucent PETG, and then you're going to have the best results that way. And the nice thing about PETG filament is that you can leave it in and don't have to worry about it cooking in there and burning to a char like PLA can do. And William also says IDEX is the solution. Yeah, IDEX seems very interesting. I don't have any IDEX printers. For those of you that don't know, it's IDEX is independent X drives. There's basically two heaters, 2 hot ends that move independently, and with 2 different filaments. So you have this one come over here and do its job, and the other one comes in and prints. It seems really neat. I've seen some of them in action, but I haven't had a chance to use one on my own. I imagine that's got to have some of the challenges with the dual nozzle, making sure that the nozzles are at the right height, and with the oozing issue too. Although some of the ones I've seen do have brushes on the side that do brush off the nozzles.
So basically, most of the nozzles we are using now all needs to have the purge tower, right?
Right.
So
Also,
that's kind of
on
waste.
the same topic, I don't know if anyone's used a software called Voxelizer. So I found that that's a nice program if you want to do like gradients in your mixing, or even just any type of mixing. Has anyone here used Voxelizer before? It's a slicer similar to Cura, but targeted for mixing and multicolor. So I think there might be a delay here.
What is the best slicer, do you think, for the multi-color printer?
So I think Voxelizer is a great one for multicolor. It does support gradients, and you can choose colors.
It's the voxelizer.
Yeah, Voxelizer. There, I think the version that you need. There's an experimental version of it, but it still works fine. It's worked better than Cura or a Prusa Slicer when it comes to mixing. There are third-party tools to do post-processing of G-code for gradients. I think Geeetech offers one as well. So that's an option. Yeah, William says it's very good for gradients. Steve hasn't used Voxelizer. Henry hasn't used it either. So yeah, I don't think a lot of people have heard of it. But if you get a chance, I would check it out. It's spelled Voxelizer.
Oh, Henry asked us, what do you think of 3D chameleon?
Chameleon. I have not heard of the 3D chameleon, so I'm not familiar with it. I'll have to look that up. So if I was to recommend if you wanted to have multicolor and you don't care about mixing, I'd almost say to, I hate saying this with the Geeetech on the line here, but I'd almost say to not get a mixing one, as it can be a little bit difficult, unless you want the option to be able to mix them and get a wide range of colors. But I don't know, just for me, I found it to be a little bit more challenging as opposed to a non-mixing hot end. But yeah.
Oh, there is a good news that we are going to have two I think it's two nozzles printer.
Oh, nice.
Two hot end.
Okay. Two hot end.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's coming. Still, I think the beginning of next year.
All right, great. Something to look forward to. Okay.
Ethan is still dependent on nozzle doing a good job of mixing.
Is it still depending on the nozzle doing a good job of mixing?
Yeah.
Somewhat. So, yes, I mean, ultimately, you're going to get better quality depending on the nozzle, how well it can mix. But using a slicer like Voxelizer allows you to easily see what the colors are going to look like roughly and add gradients. There's other solutions to multi-filament as well. Like someone mentioned, there is IDEX. There's more complex solutions out there. There's a E3D tool changer, which allows you to change out tools. What it does is kind of releases a tool and picks out a different hot end with a different filament attached to it. But that kind of setup gets very expensive. Some people have heard of the MMU from Prusa. So that's another solution as well. That doesn't mix, that just changes filament and allows you to have like 4 or 5 different, maybe 6 different filaments in there. There's another solution called the palette by Mosaic, which has 4 inputs for the filament, and what it does is it fuses together the filaments and changes them out, cuts the filament, and then fuses the different color onto it. That's a little bit pricey too, and I don't have one of those, but that's an option out there too if you want to do multicolor.
Okay, we have a new beginner to multiple execution. Which one would you recommend to have for beginner?
So for beginner, I find that the easiest, if you get a non-mixing hot end with a single output, I think it's going to be the easiest setup because you don't have to have all the inputs loaded, and it's a little bit less susceptible to clogging as well, just because you don't have hot filament sitting idle.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would recommend.
Oh, does it matter for different materials of the nozzle for
Right. So
print quality?
yeah, it does matter, especially when it comes to mixing. You're going to have the best luck with translucent PETG. And if you don't have the translucent, just PETG is going to work better, especially when you have filament sitting in the idle filament sitting in a hot nozzle. When it's sitting in there for a while, PETG is going to fare better and be less prone to clogging than PLA.
Chameleon allows to upgrade any printer to multi-filament.
That's interesting. Up to 8. That's very
Good
interesting.
to know.
Yeah, I have to check that out.
Sounds like a new function.
Yeah, I'm surprised I haven't heard of the 3D Chameleon. I'll have to look into that.
Thank you, William, for sharing this information. Multicolor units are defining challenges. Eco-fresh effect. What is eco-fresh effect?
So Aquafresh is a toothpaste, and at least here in the U.S., I don't know if it's in any other country, but it's a toothpaste that comes when you squeeze it out of the tube. It comes in like 3 different colors, like red, white, and blue, I think. And that's the way it is in the tube. And as you squeeze it out onto your toothbrush, it comes out in multiple colors, which is essentially the effect that you get with these mixing hot ends, is that you have multiple filaments, and when it prints out, you see it in multiple colors. So I think that's a good description of the mixing hot ends, the Aquafresh effect. I don't know if they have a similar toothpaste like that in other countries, but that's what Aquafresh is. Just toothpaste, multicolored toothpaste.
Okay. E3D tool charger is a big investment.
Absolutely, it's very expensive.
Oh, Harry is a teacher in a lab for 3D printing as well. He mentioned to me before. Yeah.
And then I guess we can take a few more questions on the multiple extruders, and then maybe at some point I can switch to Git if that's what everyone wants.
I think most. So if anyone have more question, you can type it here. Harry is saying, does everyone have good video quality from your side? Because maybe from my side, the quality is okay. Okay, so Harry.
So switching back to print here.
Do you actually have some prints that you printed with different nozzle and to show the difference?
Yeah, actually, I don't have a lot of multicolor prints sitting out here right now. But yeah, one of the questions was, what are some of the prints I've done, or I guess one of the proudest prints I've done, or something like that. I guess I'll have to share my screen. I did have a different setup that I was going to use.
So if you have like the different type prints with different nozzles, that would be better for
Right. So I don't
for
have
people to
any.
see.
Absolutely. You know what? Just within reach right here. Do have this multicolor. Not very
Oh,
impressive, but
Benchy.
yeah, 3D
Benchy.
Benchy and two different colors. So I don't have a lot of prints within reach right here, but I do have this. But I do have a little something to share about one of the prints that I created here that I'm kind of happy about. Let me see if I can switch over to this here. Okay, so what you're looking at here is we had our kitchen remodeled and got a new microwave in. What you're looking at here is the cabinet that is on top of our microwave, and that opening in the back is a vent that goes outside, and that gray thing on the top or on the bottom is the vent that comes out of the microwave, which also vents out all the smoke and oil from our cooktop. So it had been sitting like this for a while, and anytime I wanted to use the fan, it would just kind of blow air around and make a mess. Well, what I ended up doing is I created a 3D print to attach this. So this is what I ended up creating. It's not with a multicolor nozzle. It's different colors because I ran out of color and had to switch it mid-print here. But this is actually, I know this seems kind of silly, but it's a print that has kind of that I'm happy about because it has allowed us to cook and use this vent and get all the smoke out of the kitchen. So yeah, I know some of you are expecting like a shiny Mandalorian helmet or something, or some type of pretty model. But this is the print that I'm pretty happy about, that has actually had a functional and positive impact for us at least. So it's just a little story there. I'm not really into creating models with like fancy models and helmets and painting them and whatnot. The way I see a 3D printer is like a tool. I've got screwdrivers and wrenches and pliers and whatnot. 3D printer is just like another tool for me, so I can use it to create functional parts as I need. I've been able to fix a lot of kids' toys with that, or headphones or battery covers, and, as I showed this little vent for the microwave here. So if you're expecting to see something shiny and pretty, I'm afraid I don't have.
I just remember that you mentioned that you upgraded your A10M to a two nozzle printer, right?
That's correct.
Two nozzle printer, yeah.
That's right.
Maybe
so
you can show us what you have done. That would be a good example.
So I actually don't have it on there anymore. So the A10M, I did have this twin nozzle. I put out a mounting adapter for this out on Thingiverse. It's a Chimera hide end for the A10M, and I like the idea of having a two nozzle setup, but in reality, it is very difficult to actually use it because you have to make sure that both the nozzles are exactly the same height, and getting it level is quite challenging. And then if you have a little imperfection in your print, a little bump, and it affects the other nozzle, and there's just a lot of problems, and the idle nozzle ends up oozing. And so I ended up taking this off, and as I showed in the earlier video, I have a different hot end on there now. Yeah, let me go back to the other camera here and show off the A10M. Okay. So here's the A10M with two different colors up there. I did end up switching the board. Can you see it okay?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay.
What are you printing now?
Okay, so this is just a multicolor fill. It's a model from Matter Hackers called Phil, which is a like an astronaut wearing a helmet and a backpack. I just downloaded it from Thingiverse to test this out. So I literally just got this working today, just a couple hours before this live stream. I switched it out and set up the firmware last night, and finally got all the parameters working. just today. So I wasn't sure if I was going to have this ready for a live stream, but looks like it's working okay. But it is a non-mixing hot end. I've only got 2 out of the 3 inputs filled up on it. I haven't set up the third extruder for this yet, but that is something I'll be doing maybe over the weekend here. Switch up.
For the purge tower, do you have just the normal setting or can is it possible to have a special shape? We can customize the shape of the purge tower.
Right. So this is just the. I'm using Cura Slicer, and Cura creates these round purge towers. If you're using like Prusa Slicer, it creates rectangular purge towers. So I don't know if there is an option to change the shape in Cura, but I think there is in Prusa Slicer. I just ended up doing this in Cura. I can briefly touch upon some of the upgrades I did on this printer as well.
Yeah.
So I switched out the lead screw. The factory lead screw, which is this thing right here, is a 8mm pitch lead screw. I changed it out to a 2mm pitch, and what that allows me to do is to have finer resolution on the z-axis, and using smaller multiples for whole steps. I can use multiples of 0.1 millimeters and have a whole step of the stepper motor. Speaking of stepper motor, I changed it the XY axis stepper motors to 0.9 degree per step motors. And I do need to put a cover on this, but I changed out the board on here to a 32-bit board as well. Excuse the messy wiring, as I just wired this up last night, so I didn't get a chance to clean that up. And change out the hot end on here. And also using dual geared extruders. But at the heart of it, it's still it's an A10M frame. Those are just some of the upgrades that I've done on that printer there.
Oh, the one next to it. Okay.
I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Oh, I saw you have I think it's different style of printer you have
That's
next
correct.
to the
Yeah.
8M.
Yeah. Let me. She just had a print going on there, and it failed as we were speaking. So I just canceled that. Let me switch over. So, yeah, Spring noticed that I had a different style printer here. So I've also got a Anycubic Predator, which is a pretty tall Delta style printer here. So it doesn't have a moving bed. The nice thing about this is that the bed stays stationary and doesn't move back and forth. So I don't have to adjust the bed or worry about bed leveling. Just kind of set it and it's good to go. But yeah, this is sitting next to the A10M at the moment.
Looks beautiful. Actually, Geeetech also have one like this long time before, I think.
Yeah, it seems like in fact this one I think is discontinued now, and companies are moving away from Delta printer. It just doesn't seem to be very popular, and not a lot of people are purchasing that. But I like them.
We have a question. In general, what do you find hardest in compiling your firmware for dual extruder?
What do I find hardest? And I haven't really found it to be that much more challenging when it comes to compiling firmware for dual filament. There are a few extra settings that you have to kind of enable depending on if you're doing mixing or non-mixing, or if you're using dual nozzle. Some of the extra settings that you would enable on there, there's a feature for nozzle park for when it's changing tools. I'm just trying to think of the differences. It's actually not too hard. You just increase the number of extruders to 2 or however many you have, and you can specify if it's mixing or not. And beyond that, there's a few additional things for nozzle part, but I don't think it's that much more difficult. And I can touch upon Marlin Firmware as well. Let's look here if we want to change topics. Let's see if there's any other questions here. Yeah, Matt says beautiful row stock.
Do you have other mixing printer except A10M?
So yeah, I guess that's a question for me. I did have another mixing one that was using this Quad Fusion hot end, which is a 4-in-1 mixing hot end made from a company called M3D. As you can see, I'm not using it anymore, so I ended up taking it off and going with a different approach. I found myself not really utilizing the mixing functionality that much. As I mentioned, I'm more about the functional prints. So I found that the added complexity wasn't really, for me personally, I'm sure it could benefit some other people who would like to take advantage of that. But on my other printer, I did end up taking it off and going with a single. The A10 is the only one I have right now that is for multiple colors. Geeetech, of course, makes other printers that are mixing as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, William says nozzle park standby temp. Yeah, standby temp if you have multiple nozzles. So if you wanted to the idle nozzle to cool down a little bit, that's an option that you can enable there. Actually, I think that's set in the slicer per hot end. But yeah, good point, William.
Okay, I think this is the main part for the multiple filament nozzle comparison. And we can discuss something more related to the GitHub. GitHub to upgrade Marlin firmware.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's the main, that's your profession part.
That's right. All right, let me share my screen here. Okay.
Like we said, a lot of people downloaded the source code of the Marlin from GitHub and then struggle to manage their changes.
Right.
So that's
Absolutely.
why we're going to have this. Yeah, we can add it here.
Okay. So hopefully I can see my screen now.
Can everyone see the screen that Makoto shared?
Yeah, I think they should be able to see that. So what I'm sharing here is
from my side, it's still like it's swerving. It's still like loading. It's still loading.
Okay.
From my side. Oh yeah, now it's working.
Okay. So I think there might be a delay here. Okay, so I'm going to briefly touch upon this. I don't want to get too deep and lose everybody here because dealing with the Marlin source code and Git repositories can be a little bit challenging. So I'm going to show you what is GitHub and Git. So this is the Marlin firmware up on GitHub. GitHub is a service that allows people to put up their source code using the Git repository. There's other providers of Git repositories as well, but GitHub is probably the biggest one out there.
Oh, your voice is a little bit low. No.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. This has been quite a rough session here,
Yeah.
so apologize. This is Marlin firmware. This is the source code for it. Anyone can download it. And what I find most people do is that they actually end up downloading the entire. What they do is they download the zip file, and they end up with the files. I would recommend against doing that, and instead, what you can do is clone the repository locally instead of loading it. So what that means is that you have to get the entire Git repo, including like all the history of all the code and all the what's called the branch, which is a way to categorize your code, or to kind of separate a particular version. I'll show you quickly here, going back to Visual Studio Code. What I've done is created a branch for each of my printers here. And what that allows me to do is quickly change to a different configuration. So I've got a A10M dual nozzle, my Anycubic printer. If I wanted to switch to this printer here, it's as simple as right-clicking on the branch, switch to the branch. And I'm in the source code for my Anycubic printer, and I can make changes here, compile it, and I'm good to go. I don't have to download a separate version of Marlin and try to keep that in sync. And the way that you can create a branch is that Marlin works on two main branches. They have what they call their bug fix branch and what they call their 2.0 release branch. So the 2.0 is their stable production ready, and their bug fix branch is where all the bug fixes go in. So that's the hot and the latest changes there. So if you want to get the production ready branch, or if you want to get their bug fix branch, you can actually see it on their website here, the different branches. So 2.0 is going to be the default one that has a stable code in there. Let me hop back to the editor. I hope I'm not losing anybody here. So if you're in Visual Studio Code and you've cloned the Git repository, you can start off from the 2.0 branch and create a new branch. So if you have a particular printer that you want to work on, let's create a branch and call it the Geeetech A20M. Have spaces in here. So now I have my own separate branch where I can make changes and to my config file. And this is a fresh configuration that is going to need to be customized. What I do is up one of the configuration examples and apply it to this. And let me just show you some of the advantages here. So we can make some changes. There's a big latency here for some reason. All right. Let's show you some of the benefits here. say I make a change to my code here. Yes. The workflow is you make a change to your configuration, and what you want to do is you want to end up committing your changes. So in Visual Studio Code, there's this little tab here that says source control. You'll see this come up. I apologize, this computer's lagging a bit here. You can put in a comment here explaining what you did. And we have to stage the changes. So we can, you'll see this copy, just hit the plus sign on here to stage change. Staging it means these are the files that I'm actually ready to commit, which committing means that there's a historical snapshot of it that's stored within your computer. And the nice thing about that is if you make some changes that end up breaking, you can always go back to a prior commit or like a prior snapshot and go back to that version. And it makes it easy for you to see everything that you've done in the past as well. So if we go back to here, we'll be able to see the history of the items that I've worked on. And you can see my commit is here. I can see exactly what I had changed. And so is there a tutorial to connect Git to Visual Studio Code? Yeah, absolutely. There's plenty of documentation out there for Visual Studio Code. I don't know anything off the top of my head, but I'm sure if you search for VS Code or Visual Studio Code, Git, they'll walk you through that. Yeah, I'm not going to go too deep into it and get too comprehensive, but the overall goal that I want to accomplish is to at least get people interested in using Git and learning more about it and see some of the advantage of it. By no means is anyone going to become a Git expert from this. So this is going to be really high level on just some of the benefits. So don't expect to really learn a lot from here, but so now I've made some changes here. The other nice thing about this is that as there are updates made to the Marlin firmware, it makes it easy for me to update my printers with the latest version. So what I can do is, let's say I wanted to get the latest code from their bug fix repository. Let me go ahead and update. It looks like there was a change not too long ago here. I want to bring in all the latest changes from their bug fix branch. So what I can do is just right click on it and merge the branch into the current branch. We're going to pick squash merge. And let's see, that's kind of surprising. Sometimes there will be conflicts, but I haven't made too many changes. Now, just like I brought in the code, all the latest changes from their bug fix branch into here. And this makes it a lot easier for me to maintain multiple printers and keep Marlin up to date for each one of them, as opposed to downloading a separate copy of Marlin for each printer and then trying to bring in the changes and find out what has changed. Let's see if there is an old version on here. There might be. I can show you what it looks like if you are far behind on your changes here. And we can see some of the changes that Marlin has made. Maybe with it here. second, I do need to commit this first. Of course, yeah. Let's just undo these changes real quick. Let's see if there's, while I wait for this, let's see if there's any questions here. Sure. This is going to be good. Yeah. So I'm just going to go ahead and undo this real quick here. So I brought in a bunch of changes. So of course it's going to.
It looks so complicated.
It can be a little bit.
to me, maybe not to
Yeah.
To 3D printing hobbyist. I mean, especially like people like you, guys are more sensitive to software stuff.
Yeah. So if anyone's done any, and I know not everybody here has compiled their own version of Marlin. So if you haven't compiled your own version of Marlin, I mean, that in itself can be a little bit challenging. And if that's not for you, there's other boards out there that don't require you to flash your own firmware to make changes. Also use, in addition to Marlin boards, I've used a couple of Duet boards. The nice thing about the Duet boards is that you don't have to worry about pulling down the source code and compiling it. Everything's configured in G code and configuration files, which is nice. So if that's if the idea of trying to compile your own firmware intimidates you, then maybe you want to look into like a Duet board. But absolutely, this can be a little bit intimidating to some people. For some reason, sharing the screen on here is making this run a little bit slow. But so I appreciate everyone being patient here as I struggle.
Harry said he had a compiled version of Marlin through K3D, KY3D.
K3D.
Yeah.
I have compiled version. Yeah, I think there are some sites out there that allow you to use a website and set a few parameters, and it will spit out a Marlin firmware for you. Sounds like that might be what K3D is. I haven't used it, but that might be something worth looking into as well. I'm trying to switch to an old version of code here and kind of show you what the process is for bringing this code up to date. All right, so this is a very old version of code here, and one of the challenges is if you're trying to keep your Marlin firmware up to date, Marlin makes changes to the configuration file, what's valid and what's not valid anymore. What I've seen some people do is use like a text differential or like text comparison tools to see the differences and kind of manually try to bring in the changes. Within VS Code, you can kind of do that a little bit more easily. And I'll kind of show you the process that I go through. So what's kind of happening for sure is I'll get what's called a conflict. So basically, I'm trying to bring in the latest changes, but there's going to be some parts of the code that it doesn't know what to do with, like which version of the code should it use, and it's gonna, I'll show you what that's gonna look like here. So here's a good example. This normally runs a lot faster for something like the screen sharing, slowing it down. Okay, so what it's showing here is that Marlin did change the way that they specify their PID values. With last year or so, they did have the option of having separate PID parameters for hot ends, and you can see that this is the incoming change, and the old version doesn't have that. So what I would do, if this continues going slow, I might not go too deep into this, so I apologize. Okay, so it looks like this might not be very responsive right now. The editor is actually just freezing up right now. Okay, well, I apologize that this is going kind of slow. Yeah, no longer responding.
Not responding?
Yeah, it's going. I'm sorry. It's I think.
Oh, you can just a little bit. We'll have just we will have one, because we have some giveaways. So we can have one giveaway while you are trying to adjust the interface. So
yeah, absolutely.
to make the full use of the time. Hello guys. So as said, we will have 3 giveaways. So firstly, we'll have one giveaway from Geeetech side that we will try to make everyone get this equal chance to have the giveaway. So just follow instructions of how. Okay. So now we have 10 people in our live streaming. I will count 10 to 1, and then I will need you to type Geeetech A20 and see how many of you can type the most. Then we will decide which one is the winner, okay? Okay, shall we start? I will count down from 10 to 1 and then see who will have a 10 most times from the screen. Okay? Now we'll start. Now is 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, now we end here. Let's see who get the most, a 10. Obviously, we have so many times, and we didn't have most of the times.
Right, so what I'm just going through right now.
Let me see other people. Henry have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. Okay, so this time William will be the winner. I think he has the computer copy and paste. Plus also tap fast. Don't worry if you don't get this giveaway. We will have 2 more later to ask Makoto to have 2 questions and then pick 2 quickest and the right answer to get our giveaway.
Absolutely.
We are spending.
Comments flying.
Okay. So, well, this time I'd like to share, because we are also gonna to share some of the promotion we are having on the A10M. So I will share about the special. Okay. Anchovy is your friend, yeah. Fastest make you be the fastest one. Okay, let me see. We have friends from US, UK. Okay, for A10M, currently we have some special deal in Amazon. I will share about the special deal in United States. Here it is. Just share it here. In US, we have 35 US dollar off. So the price is 259.6. And for guys in UK, we also have are we almost ready, Makoto?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not going to get too deep into this, but basically what I'm going to touch upon is just the fact that it shows me what the changes are that's coming in from. So this is what I currently have, which is code, and it shows me the changes that's coming in from the latest version of Marlin, and it gives me the opportunity to choose what code I'm going to bring in or write and whatnot.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get too deep into this, but I just want to highlight some of the advantages of using Git instead of downloading a zip file. So it allows you to kind of easily manage multiple printers and switch to a different printer setup simply by changing what branch that you're in. Once you go into a particular printer, it also makes it easy to bring in changes from the latest version of Marlin of the 2.0 release branch. And it also gives you the ability to see the history of all the changes that you've made. And if you find that something's not working very well after a change, it makes it very easy for you to go back to a previous version. So those are some of the benefits of using the Git functionality within Visual Studio Code as opposed to just downloading the zip file. So I would recommend, if you are into modifying the firmware configuration and compiling your own firmware, and especially if you have multiple printers, I would recommend getting familiar with Git functionality. But that's basically what I want to get across. I don't think I'm going to get too deep into this. And it seems like this demo is going to go a little bit slow with the lag getting here. But yeah, I don't want to bore people too much with the technical details here. But that is just something I wanted to highlight and recommend people to look into. So I'm just going to go ahead stop sharing. But hopefully everyone saw just a high-level overview of what the steps are in working with making changes using the Git functionality. I don't know if anyone has any questions about using Git and making changes. How many people out there build their own?
Okay, we are having some. So right now we are talking about Makoto just shared some of the simple ways to update, use GitHub to update Marlin firmware. If you have any question, you can ask him here on live regarding any difficulties you had or you wanted to try. Maybe he can share his experience from his side.
Yeah, absolutely. If anyone has any questions about using Git or compiling Marlin, glad to help out.
From your side, Makoto, do you think which part might be the difficult part for like new people to adjust from the interface?
So I think just stepping into it, not familiar with it, is going to be a little bit tricky, especially if someone doesn't have any experience with source code or programming. Let me just go back into here real quick here. The way that you configure Marlin is you actually go into their source code and you have to either comment or uncomment or change values that's in there, and I'll show you what I mean by that here. Trying to share the screen. I don't know. It looks like it's not sharing yet. I don't know if there's anything you have to do to enable that.
You can share, tap the share screen from your side and.
Hit share screen again. I don't know if it's.
Is it this one?
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so.
It's not showing yet. Maybe it's maybe a lag.
Okay.
Henry is asking a question about BL touch Z fade value.
So Z fade, if anyone's not familiar with BL touch, it's actually I have one sitting here
for auto leveling. BL touch is for auto leveling.
Yeah, it's a probe,
yeah,
mechanical probe, and I just had one sitting here.
You have it in the printer already. You can share.
I do. So
yeah,
that one's actually using a 3D touch, so that one's not a BL touch, but it's the same concept. I do have
similar.
Here. But it's a probe, allows you to probe the bed, and Z-fade leveling is for if once you level the bed and you have imperfections in your bed, you probe the bed and it accounts for all the little imperfections. So if there's a little valley in a hill within your bed, it might start to print lower and higher depending on where those peaks and valleys are. Over time, with the Z-fade is that instead of having these massive peaks and valleys, it kind of levels out over time. And as it gets higher and higher, it eventually just prints completely level. So down here, it might be a little bit wavy. Henry's asking about what's a good Z-fade value.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on how warped your bed is, but maybe something like 5 millimeters is a good starting point for a Z-fade value. But if you have a relatively flat bed, then perhaps something even lower.
I think your voice is getting low again.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I gotta remember to project and yell here. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll continue yelling here. But yeah, depending on how flat your bed is, if you have a pretty flat bed, your Z fade value could be something as low as maybe 1 millimeter. But if you have a bed that's not level, then maybe like 5 to 10 millimeters. But I'd say 5 is probably a good starting point. But like I said, it depends on your bed.
Actually, in our, I think in Geeetech side, we also have we don't say BL touch, we say 3D touch. It's same thing.
Yeah.
We recently we just released I think it's the second and third generation.
Right.
Function is the same, but the package and the things are different, slightly different.
Yeah. That's what I have on my A10 right now is the 3D touch, which is very similar to a BL touch. And in fact, the code for Marlin, you'd still be enabling BL touch in Marlin. Speaking of enable, so if you've never touched C code, essentially if you want to enable a particular feature, you'll see these 2 slashes in front of the code. Those 2 slashes means that it's commented out or disabled, essentially. In order to enable a feature, just remove these 2 slashes, and now, for example, here we've enabled the ability to level the bed corners. So you just go here and find out like what features that you want to have enabled and uncomment or remove those 2 slashes, and now that feature will be enabled when you go to build it. So that's more or less what it looks like to touch the Marlin code. There's also some numerical values that you'd go through and modify to your needs.
Yeah.
But if you've never,
I just shared about the 3D touch that Geeetech have. If some people have such needs, maybe you can check.
yeah, and I found the 3D touch to
yeah.
work quite well. I can switch cameras to show the 3D touch probe here. Let's go back to here.
William said most of the time the settings are there. Just need to remove and to enable it.
Right. Yeah, that's correct. So this is the 3D touch that I have on my Geeetech A10M. So in case no one has seen that 3D touch.
Oh, I give you a solo.
Since I prefer not to use a 3D touch. Because once they set their bed properly, it's not necessary. So it depends. There are some benefits of using a probe like a 3D touch or the BL touch. If you have a printer with 2 Z stepper motors, particularly a Cartesian type printer, you can have them on 2 separate stepper drivers, and you can use the probe to automatically tram the x-axis for you. So that's a nice thing about having the probe. If your bed is not level, then if you have, especially with a bigger size bed, like a 300+ millimeter bed, having a probe could be useful because with a bigger bed, you tend to have more imperfections. For a smaller bed like on the A10M, you could get by without it, but it's pretty helpful, especially if you want to change out your bed surface. So if I wanted to switch like a thick piece of glass to a thin, flexible steel sheet, it makes it easy to change out using the probe. I don't have to change the Z offset or change the Z limit switch or adjust the screw knobs. The probe will make it easy to adjust for that. So there are some benefits, but absolutely you can get by without one. Hopefully that's answered Steve's question.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Martin had BL Touch on A30.
Yeah, I've grown to like the BL Touch. I found it to be helpful, but and I do have some printers with bigger beds, so I do find it very valuable to have the BL Touch.
Oh, William mentioned about like when you install BL Touch, it will take the printer's chip storage.
Let's see, chip choices.
May run into space issue. Firmware.
Yeah, I might have to change out the batteries again here. Yeah, so depending on your board, I found that even with the 8-bit boards that use like the Arduino, the Atmel or Atmega 2560, there's still enough space on the chip to be able to handle the larger firmware for the probe. Yes, there is some storage that's needed in your EEPROM to store like the matrix for the bed leveling, depending on. So you have the ability to specify how many points that you want to probe, whether that's like a 5x5 grid or go up to like 10x10. Of course, if you have more detailed points, you have more storage. So if we have like a 15x15 row or matrix of points, we have 225 points that we need to store within storage. So yes, that's going to take up more. So that is a good point there. Just have to be mindful of how many points that you can probe based on your board. But yeah, if you do enable too many features, you can run into issues.
Henry says the proper procedure is G37, G34 to align gantry and then level the bed manually with knobs. And
yeah.
Thirdly, use the 3D touch or BL touch to prop the bed.
Yeah, absolutely. G34 you can use for leveling or trimming the x-axis, so that it's something that you'd want to do. Yeah, probe the bed. Yeah, that's a good tip there, Henry. I think what you said is good advice there.
Makoto, I think your computer is running out of power.
Yes, my camera is. I do have another battery, and I'm about to swap out.
Oh, you can plug your power first. I think in case suddenly power off.
Yeah. 1 second here.
Yeah, no problem. Steve, for the Amazon deal, 29.9. Let me check. I think the deal.
Back here.
You may add me. You may message our Facebook account, okay? And I will check and get back to you on Geeetech Facebook directly. I don't think there will be a special code to get this discount. It should have. I need to check when it starts. It should be like today, the deal for today, but I need to check what's the official time to have it. Yeah. So we're back to. Okay, the power is ready.
Yeah. So it's just that I'm using a digital camera. I'm not using a regular web camera, so I wanted to get better quality. But it's battery powered, and it's going through batteries right now. So apologize for having to switch out.
We are fully armed now.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to go. All right.
So for the GitHub session, do we have more questions from our audiences? If not, we can directly move to our giveaway session. We have 2 more giveaways that we can ask Makoto to give some questions, and then for the quickest and the right answer, we will have one giveaway, which is our Geeetech filament.
So William asked, what's the weirdest Marlin feature?
Oh, William is asking what's the weirdest Marlin feature you have used and why?
So there are, I guess it is a feature. So within the Marlin source code, you have the option to enable games within Marlin. So you got a choice of like 4 games. You got Breakout, Invaders like Space Invaders, and Snake. So you can, if you wanted to, there's a little menu that you can enable to play games using the LCD screen and the rotary encoder to play Snake or Space Invaders. So I think that's probably the weirdest feature, is having playable games on your 3D printer in Marlin. If you look in, if you're curious, if there's a file called configuration advanced or underscore ADV that has an area in there called frivolous game options that you can enable.
Already done that.
Yeah, William's already done it. Yeah.
Master. Hilarious.
I think that's probably, I'd say that's the weirdest Marlin feature.
Okay.
Any other questions?
You can write. Anyone have questions? You can write there. And in the meantime, we will have the giveaway, because it's already. We really enjoy the time. It's already like almost 2 hours. Thanks for being with us. And
absolutely.
Yeah, let's have some fun.
Okay.
So guys, be ready for the gift. Now we will have Makoto to announce the question.
All right, so start off with a easy question here. So in case you don't know already, you can print with dissolvable filaments. Essentially, you print and with a support using dissolvable filament, and it ends up going away, which makes it pretty nice for printing out supports. The question is, can you name 2 types of dissolvable filaments? Let's see if anyone can name the 2 types.
Dissolvable filament.
Right.
Okay.
See if anyone knows at least one of them.
Oh, I just need to add the rules that we have is that in one live streaming, one guest can get 1 row of filament only. So the questions for everybody, but cannot have a repeated gift.
Yeah, we got 2 people who got the answer right. So Henry said PVA and hips, which is correct, and also Martin came in a little bit later and said the same thing. But okay. Yes, that's correct. PVA, polyvinyl acetate, which is basically like same thing as skull glue and a filament, and hips is high impact polystyrene, which can be dissolved using limonene.
Okay.
Good job there.
Congratulations. Good job.
All right. Are we ready for the next question?
Are we ready for the 3rd question?
All right. So next question. So there's multiple right answers to this question here, but a lot of people are familiar with some of the different kinematics out there. Kinematics is a term that means the way that a printer moves. The most common out there, like on the A10M, is the like the Prusa i3 style, where you have a moving bed for the x-axis, or for the y-axis, sorry, and then you have the print head that moves on the x-axis and moves up on the z. So that's a Cartesian style, and if you saw earlier, I also have a delta style, and there's another one out there called Core XY. The question is, can you, in addition to Core XY, Cartesian, and delta, can you name a different type of printer kinematic? And there's multiple right answers to this. So let's see if anyone is familiar with any other type of 3D printer kinematics out there. So yeah, in addition to the classic Cartesian i3 style.
Okay, copy paste.
Let's see, belt. Cure is a slicer.
No, I just typed the question again here.
Okay.
So see, in addition to the kinematics, can you name other kinematics?
Right.
Except the Cartesian one. What kinematics printers?
Right. So yeah.
What types of? Normally it's like what types of. So the question is very looks very complicated, but it's very easy. Even me, I know. Hurry, guys.
Yeah, so Delta printer uses like all three uses 3 motors to simultaneously to move the print head. Core XY is a system, has a big system of belts to move the x-axis without the bed moving. Which I have one of those as well. So yeah, I have Delta, Core XY, and Cartesian. Hoping that someone else can. I don't know.
Oh, actually, the one that you showed, like next to the Geeetech one, that's another one already.
Right. So that's
but
Delta
you
printer.
needed to know what does that call.
Yeah, that one's Delta. I mentioned that already as one of the examples.
Okay, so that's an example. So some other ones.
Oh, here we go. Yeah. Oh boy, William got it. He's already won.
Oh, he will not be counted. William, you are right, but you will not be counted.
Absolutely. Polar
you can name other ones. People can name other questions because it's not just limited to. It has many answers, different types of printers.
Right.
Yeah. So you can write other types there.
Yep, so some people have said SCARA. So SCARA is kind of looks like a robotic arm with a print head on it. And Polar, the print bed, moves in a circle. If you kind of think of it like the way a laser goes on a CD player. Kind of similar to that, I guess, except it's not spinning constantly. But yeah, those are the answers I was looking for.
So who is the...
Well, let's see who copied William's answer first. So it's Facebook user without a name. He said cantilever, Polar. Martin said SCARA, which is a right answer here.
SCARA was one.
Yeah, Henry said SLA, but yeah, that's a not really a type of kinematic. That's the laser type printing, or with the resin type printing. So it's not exactly for like an FDM kinematic. But yeah, I think who said SCARA first here? After William, looks like Martin Hanshaw was the one.
Martin?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, congratulations, Martin. So today we have 3 lucky friends in our live streaming. Okay, so I will contact you later for the giveaway. Thank you guys for being here with us, and hope you get something from this live streaming.
Absolutely, and if any, and I'm out on these Facebook groups as well. So if you find me on Facebook, feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. But hopefully, I got some people interested in using, at least looking up Git.
You write the names. Now it's almost the end of the live streaming. If you still have more questions, you can write here on, and you can also say something to appreciate our speaker Makoto today for his wonderful sharing here. And thank you very much, Makoto, for being here, make this wonderful sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the first time I've done something like this, so it was a good learning experience, and hopefully I won't have as many technical issues next time I do something like this. But yeah, I enjoyed it, and appreciate everyone for sticking around and hanging out here with us tonight. And like I said, if you have any questions, just search for my name. I don't think there's a lot of Makotos out there, and you should find me on the Facebook groups.
Our lucky winners, we have William, the first one. The second one is
yeah,
Harry.
Great black cat. Yeah, I've got a bunch of cats here, so it's one of them.
The third is Martin.
Like they wore a cat shirt too.
I'll catch up with you guys later. Okay, so that's all for today's live streaming. Oh, I was actually preparing to share some promotions from Geeetech side. But actually already shared it while we're having some accidents there. Just making full use of the time.
Yeah.
What's more? So I will just tap it here, quickly tap it here. If anyone is interested, and you can check it out for just for A10M. So this is, we have deals in USA, UK, and Canada. And you can check it here. So that's what we're having right now for a 10M. Price is 260 around in USA, and UK is 171. This is a special. This will it's only last for 3 days for this one, and for Canada it's 419.
Nice. Yeah, I got my A10M as a refurbished unit. I got a pretty good deal on that, and it was whoever refurbished it did a pretty good job with it, and it ended up working fine.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you still have any of those units like that, but I found that was a good deal for me.
And except because A10 is like for 2 colors, and we also have a 3-color printer that is having some discount in Amazon as well. That is A20T in Germany. This is in Germany and also in Spain. Okay, so this is for the A20T. And lastly, I will share some filament, because filament is the most common purchase for people. Like we are having the white PLA in US, so it's like 7-day deal, ranging from like almost $19 to $24. So here is the link. And also we have black as well. Black one is similar, a little bit lower price. Oh, do you guys use ABS? I know it's not environment friendly, but we are having some.
Yeah, I use it every now and then for especially anything that goes in the car.
Okay, so just the ABS is also having some deals. It's around $14.
Well, that's a good price.
And okay, that's the most some of good. And then I got some best deals for like 3D touch, like we shared before. So this one has I think it's having huge discount. It's 14% off, and the final price is 17.9 almost.
That's a great price. Yeah, the BL Touch goes for like over $35 or so last I checked, so $17.84 is definitely a great price on 3D Touch there.
Okay. So this just I will copy some of printer. I think that is very common for people for one single extruder to consider. Okay, I have the US and Canada. We have for the single extruder printer. Here are some of the deals. I think it's very good, so I just put it in a live streaming. Henry, you mean the BL Touch, 3D Touch? I needed to check about the 3D Touch price with our team, because I'm not working in Amazon department. I will check for you and get back with you for the price. Reliability and accuracy, 3D Touch. I think it's improved slightly, and the main change are the packaging, and also slightly improved compared to the first version. Yeah, so that's all. Some of the good deals that I think it might be interesting for our audiences on live. So just copy and paste here. Yeah, thank you very much, everyone, for joining this live streaming. And I hope to see you next week. Just stay tuned.
Thank you, Spring. This was
Thank
a
you,
pleasure.
Makoto. Thank you, Makoto. And
thanks. Yeah, I'm gonna hang up now.
hope to see you another time, maybe if you have
Absolutely.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll be more prepared for sure.
I think this is very, like the topics that you shared is very attractive to especially the 3D printing beginners, or from the beginner level to the experienced level. So they should be very interested in this topic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Like this. Okay, thank you guys for joining us. See you next week. Have a good